Thank you for such an insightful session, Mr. Sharma. You've really given us some food for thought. Now let's get ready for a panel discussion on building resilient EV supply chain in India for global dominance. Here we have with us our speakers to mark the presence of an OEM, Tier 1 supplier, technology provider, and new age EV maker. From raw materials to manufacturing capabilities and innovations, the discussions will delve into the critical aspects that will propel India towards global dominance in the EV market. The session will be moderated by Mr. Sumantra Bibhuti Barua, consulting editor at ET Auto. The stage is all yours, sir.
Hello and welcome to ET Auto and to this very special World EV Day program. As part of our World EV Day special program, this is a very, very special panel discussion on the theme of building a robust EV ecosystem for global excellence, building a robust EV ecosystem in India. So therefore, we have got some very important stakeholders of the Indian EV industry. And it's my pleasure to also inform that this panel discussion, this whole World EV Day special program by ET Auto also serves as a curtain raiser for ET Auto's flagship conference on the EV industry called the EV Conclave, which is scheduled to be hosted by the end of November. So without further ado, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce our esteemed panelists, starting with Anand Kulkarni, Vice President at Tata Motors Passenger Electric Mobility, the leading player by a huge margin in the emerging electric vehicle market in India, and specifically in the electric passenger vehicle market. It's a leader by a wide margin. Then we have Mr. Pankaj Sharma, founder and CEO of Log9 Materials. Welcome, Pankaj. And then we have Mr. Krishan Kohli, President and CEO at Kalyani Powertrain, the EV industry related business group of the Kalyani Group. And last but not least, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Ashish Tarte, who is the CTO and COO of Lectrix EV, one of the newest players in the emerging EV industry, a maker of electric scooters, and also director at Livguard EV Drive Train. And this group, the SAR group, it is also trying to build its business not only as a EV maker, but also as an EV solutions provider. So welcome, gentlemen, once again to this very special World EV Day program. And we really appreciate you taking your time off from your busy schedule to participate in this discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sumantra. Happy to be
here. Very much. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. First of all, let's dive into the discussion straight away. And if I may ask you, Anand, the current status of the Indian EV industry, particularly the electric passenger vehicle industry, how would you qualify it as it is in this stage? And your outlook for the progression of this segment of the Indian EV industry?
Yeah, thanks, Sumantra, and good evening to all my co-panelists and the audience as well. If you look at the EV industry today, it's had a phenomenal run in the last 5-6 years itself. And therefore, if you see where we started off 5 years back, it was mostly with two-wheelers and just a couple of four-wheelers. If you saw particularly the four-wheeler market at that point of time, it was a market of maybe 250 units a month. And this month, or the month of August that we closed yesterday, the market has grown to about 10,000 vehicles a month. So you see that there has been a huge expansion of the market in just a very, very short period of 5 years. And the same thing I may say has also applied to two-wheelers and three-wheelers, because today we are at a very, very good size of almost about 6-7 million two-wheelers and three-wheelers put together. And by 2030, I think the two-wheeler, three-wheeler market, along with the four-wheeler market, is expected to grow right up to about 15 to 17 million vehicles, which, as you can see, is a phenomenal growth within a very short span of time. A lot of this is on account of the fact that people have now started to realize and understand the value of electric vehicles, and the uptake has been very, very quick. As we go forward, we see that this trend will continue. Electric vehicles will continue to outpace the growth of their other propulsion system partners or propulsion system siblings. And the penetration of EV vehicles, at least in the four-wheeler market today, which stands at about 2% in 2023, is likely to get into the high teens by the time we hit 2030. And that itself is a significant expansion, as we spoke about. So all things said and done, big growth, big impetus from government, as well as good acceptance from customers, and a very good prospect of expanding in the future. That's how I would sum it up.
Very good prospects indeed, because considering that even by an earlier stated interview, Tata Motors has gone on record saying that by 2030, the share of passenger vehicles in Tata Motors portfolio would, half of them, the share of electric would be about 50% of them by 2030. So that's that also is an indication of where the kind of expectation is in terms of growth of this segment. Thanks for sharing your thoughts, initial thoughts there, Anand. Ashish, on the other side, the two-wheeler and three-wheelers are really driving the EV revolution. And in that, some may call it a late entrant, some may, and the other way is to say that, okay, the latest entrant and the newest challenger, Lectrix. So how do you see this segment, the two-wheeler segment, progressing? And I believe you have also a presence in the three-wheeler segment, and you wish to kind of become a significant player. Right now, you're maybe a marginal player at best, but you plan to become a significant player there as well. So what kind of growth rate do you expect? And in what areas do you think the growth rate will be higher?
Sure, Sumanta. First of all, thanks a lot for this panel discussion, and I welcome my co-panelist. As Anand said rightly, initially there was a thought process that because I'm seeing this market from last say 13 years or 12-13 years at the start of the inception. I've seen the eras where there was no awareness at all on the electric, and when I was part of the Mahindra Electric, we are struggling for few numbers. There was no awareness, and now the thing is completely different. The ecosystem is completely different. We are talking about the bigger numbers for two-wheeler, three-wheeler passenger cars. So definitely the EV penetration has always started with the three-wheeler, which is moving to two-wheeler, and definitely passenger cars also making a major mark, which with Tata Motors is leading in this area. So coming to the three-wheeler and two-wheeler, I would say first starting with the three-wheeler, obviously in three-wheeler traditionally electric auto or IC engine auto was always a common mode of transport in the last mile mobility from the years together, as we all know. The complete revolution has brought when the e-rickshaws came into the market, and then e-auto and the passenger carrier of the electric vehicle, which is a L5M and L5N. The passenger L5M and the L5N is the load carrier, which is getting more popularity, and it's having a different advantages. It is becoming the most choice of the customer for the last mile mobility, for the short distance commuting. It is very, very cost effective, first of all. So we have already reached in 2022, I would say $890 million US market with the three-wheeler, including e-rickshaws and e-auto. And the study and survey says that it is expected to reach to 2,156 million US dollar by 2028, with a huge growth of CAGR about 15%, and to be precise, 15.8%, which is a great. So that is the reason you can see every month or every quarter there is a new entrant in three-wheeler market. So I would say three-wheeler is definitely increasing in a big way. We at SAR E-Mobility are having that focus, complete focus. We are already having e-rickshaw, which we have reached a certain number, almost 1,500 per month we are making, and we are having a big plan and investments in the e-rickshaw segment, and slowly we'll move into L5M and L5N segment also. So there is a big plan considering the increasing market on the three-wheeler, and obviously there are opportunities in abroad also, electric vehicle export, that also we are exploring. So this is about three-wheeler. Our focus is also on the two-wheeler, main focus of the Lectrix EV. And I think we missed you in our recent launch, Sumantra. We discussed on that day. Alexis is our flagship vehicle, which is already launched. And we always believe here at India runs on the two-wheeler, as we all know. So there is a market of 21 million units per year sale. And out of that, EV market potential is, I would say, almost 8 to 10 million per year. There's a big market potential on EV two-wheeler, and it's having it's getting the popularity. You can see on the signal many electric two-wheelers around you with the green nameplate, which was not there the scenario of years back.
Electric two-wheelers and both electric four-wheelers are on the rise, and they are there to see. And I'm sure you must be kind of internally must be having some very high growth projections, right, for the two-wheeler business also?
Yes, yes. We are having that kind of investments going on, new assembly plants, considering the group.
If you can share, what kind of investment have you kind of earmarked for?
I may not be able to put the numbers on the table, but I would say that we are increasing our capability in the R&D also. In Bangalore, we have already put the EV Tech Center, which is already in the public domain. So I look after both areas as a CTO on the product development and as a CEO in the production. Our plant is in Manesar. So we are basically investing a lot in both two-wheeler and three-wheeler R&D as well as the manufacturing facilities.
Right. Good to have you, Ashish. I mean, for the viewers, Ashish is an whole hand in the electric mobility industry. He has, as he mentioned, he has seen the electric mobility industry's evolution pretty much right from its start in India, because he had a fairly long stint at the Mahindra Group, and Mahindra Group, as we all know, is a strong has got strong interest in EVs. But we are talking about the EV ecosystem. We heard the perspectives of the vehicle makers. Now let's get the viewpoints of the technology suppliers, technology partners, very key ones in the overall when it comes to any discussion on the EV ecosystem. So let me come to Pankaj first on that. Pankaj, you provide the very key component of energy source to power the EVs. And now we are also looking at coming up with new technology options. What's the current status in terms of localization of these solutions? One, localization, and secondly, enhancing the efficiency or efficiency in terms of energy density or efficiency in terms of faster charging ability. What's the current status, and where is it heading to in the near term?
Yeah, thanks, Sumantra. Always a pleasure being here. I think I completely agree with Anand that the offtake has been remarkable from some units which are 200 units to 10,000. It's a testament of the fact that the technology has been well received. And there is a much greater appreciation for what an electric vehicle brings to an individual as a life experience. But for businesses, it's critical. I mean, if you do a delivery on an ICE engine, you do delivery at probably 10 rupees to a kilometer. When you do it on an electric, you do it at a rupee. So that's when we're going to fundamentally take India into a very different dimension. India does 50 lakh deliveries every year. So imagine the kind of cost saving that EVs are doing, and to enable that kind of cost saving, you need technology that can deliver that kind of performance. So I think I'll start the reverse way. It's the first thing that the technology or the batteries have to give, because at the end of the day, 50% of the vehicle literally is the battery and the powertrain that comes along with it. So what is it that the battery has to do? Well, it has to charge fast to begin with. Nobody has time to kind of wait for 4-5 hours. In businesses, in B2C, it works. You have nighttime, you can charge a vehicle during nighttime, but businesses that are running their vehicles morning till evening, they want it to be always available, and hence fast charge is a big part of that.
The benchmark, some say, is the filling time it takes for an ICE vehicle to fill petrol or diesel.
I just recently launched a two-wheeler that gets charged in 12 minutes. But let's look at it. Because these batteries talk to us, so we get the data. Nobody puts the electric vehicle at 0 state of charge. And more often than not, nobody takes it to 100% state of charge. You try and top it up to what you want it to deliver. And so in our case, that 12-minute fast charging two-wheeler typically gets people use something called an opportunity charging, where they just charge for 5 minutes and go. So I think it's still far from, let's say, 30-second or a 1 minute kind of a time, but 5 minutes is good enough because it gives you the range. So I think fast charge with that kind of an opportunity charging is needed. Efficiencies are definitely getting better. Everybody's talking about bringing the cost of the battery down, but what we have to also talk about is bringing the efficiency of the battery up. As the efficiency goes up, your cost goes down. You need a smaller battery that can deliver better. So that's the second piece. And on your third piece, I think indigenization is the way forward. For us at Log9, lithium ion seems like an oil, and we should discover our own oil. You should make our own oil, and that's why we are making lithium ion cells in this country, so that the batteries could be 100% indigenized within this country. So far, the cells that go into a battery is 80% BOM of the battery, and hence it is a struggle to get the battery completely indigenized in India. Log9 and other companies are working towards it. I am hopeful that by the time, as Anand talked about it, that the large adoption happens by 2030, some of the companies like Log9 will scale up to indigenize cells and lithium ions in the country, and then we will have probably our own oil, our own batteries, our own vehicles.
And the lithium finds in India is also quite good news for building a robust EV ecosystem, right? An indigenous EV ecosystem.
I think we are all very, very excited, but skeptical at the same time, because it takes time for that lithium to be available. And mind you, we are not looking for raw lithium. What battery companies like Log9 needs, which is the cell makers, are battery grade lithium. So hence discovering lithium is one part of it. Creating material science companies in this country that can take that raw material and make it into battery grade material, that's a missing piece that we're talking to. And I'm sure, government is going into that direction, and we should. That's the whole journey between now and 2030, 7 years, material science revolution.
Yeah, and that reminds me of one of our earlier discussions about aluminum also, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's so much of aluminum available in India, but when it comes to battery grade,
super. It's just not lithium. I talked about it earlier also. Lithium is just 2 to 5% in a lithium ion cell, whereas 20 to 30% could be aluminum inside that lithium ion cell. So there are other metals, lithium, beyond lithium, which is aluminum, copper, and others, that we can indigenize directly. We don't even have to wait for those mines. India is the second largest producer of aluminum. So there are ways to indigenize cells if we can line up those formulation or metal companies to produce battery grade material, and then suddenly we can have indigenization take off.
Talking about indigenization, let me bring in Mr. Krishan Kohli, CEO and President at Kalyani Powertrain. Mr. Kohli, the Kalyani Group, as part of its call it sustainable growth strategy or future-proofing strategy, made some significant investments quite a few years ago on the electric mobility ecosystem. Teva being one key example, which is an investment overseas. Teva specializes in electrifying or converting conventional commercial vehicles into electric trucks. So that is one part of the pie, but the larger story is indigenizing it or making it, let's say, now competitive enough to be introduced in India. So could you throw some light on what kind of efforts, what kind of approaches is an industry player like Kalyani Powertrain making to really come up with indigenous efficient solutions, which will not only help the company be competitive, but at the larger goal of building a very robust and indigenous EV ecosystem in India?
Yeah, sure. So thank you, Sumantra. And again, I would like to definitely have appreciation and feel good about being part of this panel discussion here. Thanks for getting me in. I think this is another important kind of aspect. How will we have the whole ecosystem ready? And I think indigenization topic that you bring in is very, very important there. So talking about Kalyani and the powertrain business, maybe I'll speak a little bit. And but to begin with, I would start our promoter group, the Kalyani family. I think one thing is very, very close to our heart is the Atmanirbhar Bharat theme and Make in India. And that is also the driving force behind when the technology evolution happens from the IC into EV, how we not only keep servicing the markets and customers that we are engaged here today, domestic and global, but also we participate into this dream of India, really the Make in India topic. Details, I think 2017-18 timeframe, definitely that was the first invest we made into Teva Motors, which is sitting in UK. They basically are today a OEM into electric trucks, 7.5 ton to 9 ton category. They can go a little over, but 7.5, 9 ton is the sweet spot. Last Hanover show, we also had actually showcased the hydrogen fuel cell trucks. So that is one topic that is going in UK, and we have access to the technology, which definitely was one of the intention when we were getting into that partnership. Then I think we also actually got into another technology partnership because we all understand when we talk about technology evolution, how we make the technology very quickly available. So there are people like Pankaj, I would appreciate, and many more here. I think Tata has been definitely churning a lot of volume. Ashish, of course, you have a lot of background, and of course, you mentioned about the play that SAR Group has. But the key part is while we are trying to grow the domestic homegrown technology, I think within Kalyani Group, the path that we took is we'll definitely leverage some of the partnerships globally and fast forward this technology. But of course, the final intent is how we localize. So we had the next one, which was getting into Prettel Group. Prettel is a very big player in Germany. So all the power and control electronics, that was the next partnership, again, 2018-19 timeframe. The next one was, I think the name is familiar to many, but Torque Motors, we invested there and then we got much deeper. Today, that is also part of the business. But yeah, Torque is a brand. We are invested. We also have deep integration there. This is a OEM into electric two-wheeler bikes. Kapil and team, they are driving that topic. Then we had the fourth one, which is on the traction motor devices. Last year, we definitely announced one more partnership in US region. But this is again getting all the traction motors as well as the controllers baked in, which will be another integral important part of the whole EV kit, or so to say, the powertrain. The only piece which is today missing is the batteries, which we are working on right now. But I think the focus that we have is we have the whole kind of all the components, building blocks which go into building a whole EV. So two-wheeler, I think we are not the OEMs, but we are definitely sitting behind Torque. So Bharat Forge and the Kalyani Group, we service into the markets. So OEMs are our customers, and we'll continue doing that. But generally speaking, we will definitely have all the building blocks. So power, electronics and control, that definitely we have one plant which is now getting started. September, I'm launching that plant out of Pune. We will have both low voltage going up to 800 volts. So 48 to 800 volts, all power electronics I would do. So Anand, maybe later I'll reach out and we'll definitely talk of synergies there. This is new development, not in the last 4 years, but the last 2 years we got it. We also have another unique proposition, and there is no competition here, but when we are talking, the government is mandating all the regulatory topics, mandating EV adoptions faster and bigger. So in the up until the FAME 2, I think there is no subsidization on the commercial vehicle truck side, but it is in discussion, strong discussions. Next release, possibly the market expects they should get it. But we also have a very big park of trucks and buses which are sitting there, 15 years of life. So within Kalyani, we are also doing a repowering business, and that vertical where we would be picking the old trucks which are already finished their first life, 5 to 7 years, and then how we electrify that. That is
how big will be that? What's a park of? How big will be the park of such trucks which have really served their first stage of life?
So it's a very large kind of a market. If we see pre-COVID time, the whole trucking market. So if I say medium and heavy, 300 plus thousand a year, and then 15 years. So you can imagine the kind of park. So the target market that we see, it is almost over a 1.5 million, which is sitting in the market. How do you electrify that, which is competitive? At the same time, it is very important that you have the technology performing and delivering. So we are talking of the range, we are talking of the charging times, and. So battery becomes a very important piece. Today we are outsourcing that, but later we will see how we can integrate some more localization in-house, some parts of the battery and BMS included. But also I think the traction devices I announced, when we started this journey 2 years back on this repowered business, repowering business, so where we had mostly imported content, some coming from Germany, one of our JV partners, some coming from US, and. But today, as we speak, we already have the trucks tested, available. And then maybe I have to make this comment here while we are talking. So trucking side, OEMs are getting ready, but repowered trucks, Kalyani Group, we were the first one to get certifications, homologations completed, already done for N3 category. Green number plates, we were the first one in the market. So this is another piece of the market that we thought, our group, we felt, while the whole ecosystem gets ready, the existing park of the vehicle, if somebody can address, that will help basically fast forward this zero emission carbon journey. So that is another part of the business. And eventually we would definitely make an attempt how we get into the EDUs and the e-axle, which Anand, you would understand much better, and we'll talk later. But overall, Sumantra, from Kalyani side, we are on a journey to make an attempt to localize most of the EV kits, so to say, all the building blocks, minus the battery as yet. But yeah, we are looking at also now there are new chemistries which we talk.
Why leave the battery out? No, it's only a matter of time when maybe we have it in your portfolio.
Everything else we are looking at how do we get both for the commercial vehicle industry, truck and bus, but not being the OEM, but servicing into the market, and repowering was just a bridge solution for a couple of years. Yeah. So that's what the Kalyani Group is doing. But the biggest focus is getting the right technology at a competitive price points, and hence localization becomes very important, and that helps in the whole ecosystem. Yeah.
From repowering business to power electronics to electric motorcycles. By the way, Talk Motorcycles, which started off as an independent startup, got saw investments from the Kalyani Group, and Talk was the first one in India to showcase an electric motorcycle.
Yes.
About 5-6 years ago. So it's a interesting bouquet of EV related kind of products and solutions that and a homegrown company like Kalyani Group is building up. So interesting that also shows that there's a strong focus on really building a solid, robust EV ecosystem. In terms of ecosystem, then OEM's perspective is very, very important because they have to kind of really, put the vehicle together. And so, Anand, tell me, the state that we are in now, India as a country, the ecosystem, how would you rate it? Is it satisfactory, up to the mark? There's still a lot of room to catch, or there are hurdles, or where are we? And also, if you just can give a kind of a perspective of from the global in comparison to some of the other mature markets, where do we stand?
Right. That's a very interesting one because, rather than answering it in a yes or no or a this way or that, I just want to tell you that for a very strong ecosystem to develop, you need 3 or 4 core fundamental pillars to be in place before the ecosystem develops. And irrespective of anything that you look in the market today, and I'm not talking about a specific industry, but these tenets have to be there. Broadly, you would need to have capability in terms of the know-how or the technology, etc. And then you would need to have a good source of raw materials and a very consistent, strong supply chain to be able to manage that. And more importantly, in support of that, you need stable government policies. And then, of course, you need the capex strength to be able to leverage these first 2 factors in a much better manner. Because you see, only if you talk on the basis of number of parts, the economies of scale become due anywhere between 100,000 to 150,000 parts. Without that, it is not possible. And therefore, it then draws you back into a chicken and egg story, what follows and what leads. And you would also have materials, but then you need to have this consistently. And Pankaj said, India is the 2nd largest producer of aluminum, and yet the grade of aluminum that we would want, either when you think of metal air batteries or even lesser things like the aluminum can, etc., you would need to have this in a consistent manner. So when these factors have to come together and the industry is nascent, it's not, I go back to 2017, we said that there were very few vehicles being sold, and how do you therefore get this entire juggernaut moving? You have to work with early knowledge, you have to work with creating a small footprint and then looking at it in a larger way and growing it. And therefore, you need to have a very phased approach of how you're going to do it. It could start with integration and then going into deeper amount of localization and then subsequent. And that's how the ecosystem starts to establish itself. Important aspect in that is people like ourselves, for example, need to have deep strategic relationships, because when volumes are not there, and if you go and run behind let's say the least expensive source, then it really does not instill confidence in the ecosystem, because that's contrary to what you want to achieve. The other aspect also would be in terms of establishing a very robust architecture or a platform where you can utilize a large number of common parts across vehicles, so that it becomes easier for you to develop economies
of scale in a way.
Economies of scale faster. And then it's also important, and in a way that that's a journey that we followed, that our product development was initiated to be roughly in line with supportive policies, and then that's how the kickstarting happened. And then it's we've sustained it without trying to be, sometimes disruption is good, but at other times a disruption can also lead to a slight deceleration in as the ecosystem is building up, and therefore there has to be a phase of consistency, solidity, and if I may say, less fluidity for us to be able to do that. Having said this, the last 5 years have been phenomenal, and therefore what we've been able to do, and I hope this helps the rest of the players as well, is now there is an industry within the country which can not only prepare propulsion units, but also make batteries, We do our own power electronics to a large extent. Of course, Ashish would remember, and they've done it all. Mahindras were doing it a little earlier, but there is such a high rate of dynamism in this entire thing. The technology obsolescence is very high, and therefore you need to get to a scale where investment in these advanced technologies becomes possible to recoup. And therefore, this is a cycle in itself. I would say, therefore, that today the supply chain is growing. It still needs support. It still needs careful attention. But we are certainly better off from where we started 5 years back. In fact, we've made rapid advancements. And as I see and as I look forward, I may not be able to show or tell you all the plans, but I think going forward, a lot of people have now developed the confidence to be able to come in not only with technology, but also with the intent of localizing in India and setting up a manufacturing base here, which will then have a tremendously cascading effect in terms of the capability and the capacity, and all of these things will then fall into place. And I see this happening maybe in a 2 to 3 year horizon. And I think we should have a fairly flourishing ecosystem. You also said about how does it compare with other countries? And I think with other countries, you mean some of our neighbors who have done far better. I think they also went through a similar kind of a state. They've been ahead of us in certain ways. And if we keep on the track that we are today, I think there shouldn't be any reason why we should be significantly different than some of these neighbors.
Right. And also one kind of reflection of the capabilities or competence of the domestic supply chain is also the localization level. So just to can you throw some light on from where we started 4 or 5 years ago to now, what level of localization has your EVs reached, for example?
So, Sumantra, the entire issue of localization is a very, very involved one, because I think in some ways the automotive industry has tended to look at the definition in a very flexible manner. And therefore, I will try and lay this down very specifically. But if you look at the glider parts, the parts that constituted the 12-volt system and seats, HVAC boxes, trims, glasses, wipers, all of these things were anyway localized to a fairly large extent.
Right.
The lack of localization or thereof was primarily in the zone of the high voltage propulsion systems and the embedded electronics that get into a vehicle to make it an electric vehicle. So today, if you look at it at a tier 1 level, I would think there's literally very, very little that we import directly. And at the tier 1 level, there is a very high degree of localization, particularly for companies such as Tata, who make their own vehicles, develop their own vehicles in India. But then when you fall down to tier 2 and tier 3 level, that's where the percentages start to drop. And that's where the localization and scales will help bringing all these components, bringing all these sub-assemblies and the processes internally. So today, because of the work that we've done in the last 5 years in a phased manufacturing plan, our localization content is significant. The Tiago EV became the first four-wheeler to get the domestic value addition certificate from ARAI about 3 weeks back. And we continue to make sure that we demonstrate our ability for domestic value addition for all the other products as well.
Well, that's good to know, and congratulations on all the developments. And also, by the way, congratulations on Tata Motors crossing the 1 lakh mark in EVs.
That was a sweet one. That was a sweet one. And I'm sure all of us on the panel, irrespective of which companies we represent, feel proud about that, because
it's kind of more of an India story than a Tata story. Yeah,
correct.
So I'll come to you back again to a really, I'm sure, about 100,000 EVs and millions of kilometers of clocked and a lot of big data. I'll come back to you to understand what are the key learnings and how we have kind of refined and mined that data to kind of enhance efficiency and things like that. Coming to the drivetrain, and as Anand was also mentioning, localization of the drivetrain, the electric drivetrain, and the SAR group is also into the business of building drivetrains. So how much have you managed to localize the drivetrain, and what are the hurdles you see that is keeping you away from making a fully indigenous EV drivetrain, for example?
Right. When Krishan was discussing about the strategies and their thought process of Kalyani Group, I was completely resembling that, because the SAR Group backbone or the strategy or thought process is completely resembling with the similar thought process of Atmanirbhar Bharat, Make in India. So let me talk a little about the SAR Group. SAR Group is the group who has invented the Luminous brand, as we all know. And afterwards, they are known for making the brands. They have made the Livguard brand. They have made the Livpure brand in RO. So the business is quite diversified, and the obvious logical progression of this group was on the EV ecosystem. And they have formed the SAR e-mobility, and the founder, Mr. Rakesh Malhotra, and co-founder, Mr. Navneet Kapoor, are very much into the EVs, and they have
this game is of a totally different nature. I mean, as much as it's a new opportunity, of course, but it's quite a complex and highly technology intensive one compared to maybe some of the others.
So they have formed the SAR e-mobility, and there are different companies within the SAR e-mobility, and we are building the complete internal ecosystem to support the EV business. So to start with, the Livguard EV Drive Train is the company, we call it LGDT, where we make the complete end-to-end solution for the two-wheeler and three-wheeler drivetrain, which includes a complete solution of motors, controllers, charger, DC-DC converter, and the lithium battery. So battery is very important, and this group could reach to a level where they have developed the technology of the lithium battery. They were already in the lead acid batteries for the automobile, but the lithium is the very core area for any EVs for two-wheeler, three-wheeler. So this Livguard EV drivetrain is completely giving end-to-end solution. We are already working with different OEMs in three-wheeler, two-wheeler segment, and it's an independent group company who provides the end-to-end solution. And Lectrix is the captive customer of two-wheeler. And my endeavor would be to have a product which is completely indigenous, obviously, apart from the battery cells, which is inherent to bring it from China or the other countries. But the complete battery pack is in-house, and all the back-end integration plays a very vital role. There are two areas where, because of the backward integration, as we all know, we can keep our quality in control, cost in control, and supply chain management in control. And you have that product which can give a cost-effective value proposition to the end customer. So that internally we are having the complete focus with this Livguard EV drivetrain, and they're supporting companies like Livguard, who makes the lithium batteries for two-wheeler, three-wheeler. There is a big plant in Manesar for the Livguard battery, which is supporting to the Lectrix EV batteries also. We are working on the swapping infrastructure. We are having our own BMS company in Bangalore, which develops the complete hardware and firmware software. There's a big team under the brand name Lime. So my point is, the complete internal ecosystem is getting developed, complete localization, and that is helping Lectrix EV as a part of the group to develop the product. So battery manufacturing, then we are having a charging infrastructure focus on this area. Recently, we have invested in a company called Ora Motor, ORXA, which is there in the high-end electric motorcycle, as Krishan was mentioning. So similarly, this company will be launching their high-end electric motorcycle, Mantis, very soon in the market. So we are part of that. So all these things coming together to build an internal ecosystem as well as the EV product from the Lectrix.
And when it comes, and also the localization part, for example, when you talk about BMS, the power electronics, for example, the components there, are they also being manufactured by the SAR Group? Have you invested in those capabilities also in terms of the design, development, and manufacturing of those?
So I discuss about this company which I told you, the Livguard and the associated companies are not only in design development. We have invested heavily in the manufacturing of the EV components also. We have set up the complete new motor assembly line. We have a collaboration with one of the Powertrain company, which is a well-known company in the motors, Quantion Powertrain, which brings the technology on the table. So in Delhi NCR region, we are setting up the motor manufacturing plant. The lithium battery plant is already there in place, and power electronics plant is also there. So design and manufacturing, everything will be in-house, and the SAR group or the SAR e-mobility will be completely ready to support the different Indian OEMs who are looking for a localized, cost-effective and high technology solution for their EVs in two-wheeler and three-wheeler.
Mr. Kohli, you are, you also, offer drivetrain for commercial vehicles, and you have you have developed your own powertrain for the two-wheelers in Torque. In Torque, you are an OE with Torque Motors. You're also an OEM. Would there be an ambition to be an OEM for commercial vehicles, also electric commercial vehicles?
Yeah, so Sumantra, I think I would like to, it's a good question. Thank you for asking, and it's very important to clarify. So in Torque, I think while we say that we are a OEM, I think we are sitting behind Torque with all the support as an investor. We have deep integration on the supply chain and manufacturing, but the brand still remains Torque. So Torque is an independent company as an OEM, and we are behind them. But yeah, we consolidate the business. Coming to commercial vehicles, fast cars, etc., I think Bharat Forge and Kalyani Group, historically, we don't want to change our DNA. We are servicing the market globally and locally both. Players like Tata Motors and Daimlers of the world. So we continue doing that. We would definitely continue building on our core competence, which is manufacturing excellence, getting the parts at the right price, so competitiveness via localization. We are also fast forwarding our technology need through these global partnerships that we have baked in. But our focus is localization at the right cost levels to service the Indian market needs. But aspiration to be an OEM today, that is not there. And we definitely want to continue servicing the market when the market moves from IC to EV, for example, with various adoption rates. We want to be a player of choice, both for commercial vehicles, truck and bus, also for pass cars. And of course, two-wheelers, the Torque brand partnership will continue. So that is what is our long-term aspiration.
Great. Good to know about that. Pankaj, in terms of, since we are our theme today, it also talks about global excellence and perhaps India's opportunity to be really at the forefront in the new age industry. Because, if you take a look at the entire global automotive industry, no one has a huge lead of decades like it was in the case of in the ICE vehicles. No major country has kind of an unassailable lead in terms of EV technology. So do you think, therefore, India has really a good opportunity as a technology development base for EVs, and specifically, let's say, energy storage solutions?
I think we really don't have much choice but to invent and develop technologies as far as electric vehicles are concerned within this country. In the earlier time, working with ICE, a lot of our OEMs got created supply chain, robust supply chain. We were able to manufacture, scale businesses very strongly. But I think what is the need of the major players that are building technology, they're building for somebody, and our off in that market is very less. Cumulative, globally, the lithium ion production scale is at about 350 gigawatt hour. India last year purchased about 2 gigawatt hour of cells. So that means in a drop, we have a drop in an ocean. And when your demand and your offtake is so less, the opportunity to convince a manufacturer to create technologies for you, to customize it for you, is very, very less. India has very different drive conditions. It has very different temperature conditions. It has very different socio-economic position to purchase parities. When you put all of that together, you have to see, okay, fine, I just cannot keep importing cells and technologies and these power electronic components that were designed for a very high-end customer somewhere in Europe or US or in China, and I'm going to bring that back into India and make it available. It's not going to happen. Second thing is also because these technologies are very environmental sensitive. It was not so much dependent, if it was a petrol or a diesel engine, doesn't really matter whether you run it in India or in Africa or in North America, it'll run probably the same. But lithium-ion battery is not like that. It's like if my brother who lives in Jaipur, he buys the same electric vehicle that I will buy, we both of us will be worried because he's in a very high temperature zone and I'm not. In Bangalore, my temperature is what lithium ions really love. They love 25 degrees. So I think Bangalore is more lithium ion solid state or a city than anybody else. But when he runs his batteries, the degradation would be higher because these are temperature sensitive batteries and so on and so forth. So you have to build technologies which are more India centric. You have to build batteries that can work. And India, you've got temperature swinging between 45 degrees in the summer and 3 degrees in the winter or negative. You have conditions which are high humidity in let's say in Chennai versus dry condition in Rajasthan. People are not wanting to have large battery packs. If you look at the Western world design of the batteries was, I want to have a 400-mile, a 700-mile range vehicle. India, you and I probably drive not more than 40 kilometers a day. Why would I over-engineer a battery that's going to give me a few hundred miles? So I think it's about understanding what India needs. India needs something that you can fast charge because we don't have, most of us live in apartments and we don't have garages to charge our vehicles. So we need something as an opportunity charging. That's where fast charge comes. We need batteries and cells that are more thermally resistant. Hence, we need different kind of chemistries. Hence, probably NMC and LFP, those are the chemistries. We're going to lean more towards LFP from a safety perspective.
Safety perspective, right.
And so on and so forth. So I think, it's India, we just don't have any other choice but to be our own developers for our own demand. And I think that's where everybody in this call is talking about that. It's about indigenization, building technologies grounds up, having homologation, resilience of the technology within this country.
And talking about not really building, indigenously developing and building the capabilities. What's the status at Log9 Materials? You commissioned the plant to manufacture lithium-ion cells, if I'm not wrong.
We are manufacturing India's first lithium-ion cells are getting just like hotcakes. They are rolling out. This year we will do about 1,000 vehicles with India-made cells. And we're gonna see. We are also in discussion with the government because government of India wants to have India-made cells. Some of our strategic deployments and strategic equipments that we have in India, they should be running on India-made cells. So we have a fully installed 50 megawatt hour cell line that is functioning. The cells have, we produce cells. We've sent those cells out. But I think what is more important is not the ability to produce cells, but the ability to continuously improve the cell from tomorrow to tomorrow to tomorrow. It's our ability to make a cell like, we are working on LTO and LFP cell technology, for example. The big thing that we're doing is making even an LFP cell more fast chargeable.
Fast charging, yeah.
What materials to put in, what thickness
because LFP compared to NMC, the only drawback is the energy density, right?
One of the biggest drawback that NMC carries is you have to go to Congo to fix your supply chain one way or the other. The cobalt's going to come from there. Look at what you have in LFP. You have iron, phosphate, ferrous. All of that is available in India. And then you have aluminum, copper, carbon, all of that is available. So when we think of a road to indigenization, I think a raw material supply chain that can be sorted within this country, that is more easy. And the whole reason people chose NMC kind of cell chemistry is because it gave them more energy density.
Right.
I'm talking about a country which probably will not ask for more energy density, but better stable technology, cheaper technology, longer cycle life technology. So I think that's what India is going to drive to. We're going to invent, develop our own cells. So Log9, we have 50 megawatt hour of cell production going on, 1,000 vehicles this year. And next year, definitely more than that. 250 megawatt hour of battery production. We already have about 5,000 batteries commercialized in the market, over 8 million kilometers done. on that batteries that have gone out in the market. So, and these are batteries that everybody's charging fast charge all the time. So 12 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, those are vehicle categories. So yeah, I mean, it's all, the whole story at Log9 is indigenization, and also go from all the way from cell to pack and having full control in the system. So writing our own BMS, designing the entire battery architecture, having those thermal management system built in grounds up, so that tomorrow, as we scale up on multiple vehicle platforms, I don't have to call up a partner somewhere and ask him, can you build it for me? We have the brain power in this country, we have the financial potential in this company, and also we have the supply chain, like what Anand talked about it. I think what really gets underappreciated is that no company makes its own product. Our suppliers make our products. About 80% of everything that we make always get made outside. We bring them in. So we have business partners that need to be booted up. And that's why, this is a collective story. When Kalyani succeeds, everybody succeeds. Tata succeeds, everybody succeeds. Lectrix succeeds, everybody succeeds. This is the opportunity that we have where industry will grow because our competitor does well.
And also, what is also, I mean, this whole electrification megatrend is also really fueling this trend of collaboration, and collaboration is increasingly becoming the name of the game. It was a kind of an exception in certain for some certain companies, an exception in the industry, the traditional industry, but in the new age industry, it's becoming almost the name of the game. And the thumbs up from Anand about on Log9 becoming the first Indian manufacturer of lithium-ion cells is also an endorsement that it's not only a Log9 story, like Tata Motors achieving the 100 lakh milestone in EVs. This is also a milestone. This is also an India story of sorts. So congratulations.
I'll give you one very interesting clue on this. At Log9, we have a policy that anybody who brings their electric vehicle will get the last parking slot. Anybody who gets the electric vehicle will get the first parking slot. If anybody wants to buy electric vehicle, we will support it financially. So it's all about, and I've got Tata cars running in my office, and it's all about walking the talk, showing to your own people. It's about, in scarcity of resources, best of the collaborations happen. And I think that's because we have scarcity of resources in terms of technology. All of us are trying to figure our way out and saying, maybe if Tata has a vendor that gets developed because of Tata Motors, I get an advantage because I can work with them tomorrow. So I think it's all about that ecosystem that is getting built because of each other's abilities. If we have, in India, there are 50 cell technologies, 40 of them are working at Log9. But those 40 engineers will go somewhere down the road. They will create their own companies. They will work for other competitors or other companies. And that's how the ecosystem will get built.
And so just to add what Pankaj said, I could not resist myself. See, the driving EV is an experience in itself, right? So just to give an example, I'm driving the E2O Plus from last 5 years. I take the pride to drive the vehicle which my team has developed when I was in Mahindra Electric. So the day when we have purchased that vehicle and brought it home, nobody in the home wants to drive the IC engine vehicle. The IC engine vehicle is parked. So it's a different experience altogether. Once you are EV man, then you never go back to IC. And that's a phenomenal. And that experience you have to take to buy the EV. You cannot explain the EV. You have to take that driving experience, then only you will fall in love with the EVs.
Absolutely. And talking about the E2O, what also makes it a stronger proposition as a mobility option in current times is its footprint in terms of the
compact vehicle. It's easy to park. And he mentioned about the range. I always personally also think that higher range may not be required. This is just in the mind of the customer. Actually, you need not to have a higher range. I have a vehicle with 110 kilometer range, okay? And with AC, it drops down to a certain number. But I hardly have any problem for the range anxiety. So you have to just plug in the night, and that much 100 kilometers.
Consumer awareness after using that now and education will really kind of evolve the nature of the car owners or EV users. Talking about that, Anand, I'm sure you've got lots of such data anecdotes, which you have kind of collected over so many years with now more than 100,000 vehicles on the road. What are the key ones that you really would like to pick up and share with us?
It's an interesting list, and we could go all evening
Yeah.
with what the learnings are.
But we have only 5 more minutes to go now.
Yeah, so in order to conserve time, I will be really sort of synoptic about it. I'll summarize this very quickly. Data is also a very important point. I mean, I know Pankaj said lithium is the new oil, but I would also say that lithium, along with that data, is also the new oil, because it gives you such rich insights. And we've done about 1.4 billion kilometers on all our cars put together. We log
1.4 billion.
Yeah, 1.4 billion, and we log about 3 to 4 million kilometers on a daily basis today. So that's all rich data coming in, and very important. Some of them have been said colloquially, but I have data to be able to prove that. A is people drive only between 40 and 50 kilometers a day. But very important, when people own an EV, they tend to drive a little bit more, roughly about 20% more than they would drive with a ICE car. And I don't know what the reason is, but that is the data that seems to be showing us. The second one is 95% of the people charge at home. And while this entire thing about charging infrastructure is true, because people want to take longer distance, but that's on the highways and for people who do not have parking slots, dedicated parking slots where they can set up the equipment. But otherwise, 95% of the people charge at home. A third part is we also need to do a lot of things about awareness, for example. And one of the things is we've seen people sometimes do not, or many times, people do not charge the batteries beyond 90% because they fear that if batteries are charged up to 100%, they will lose life or they may get into a complication. So I want to use this forum today, Sumantra, to tell all the audience that there is enough and more safety built into these batteries. So please do charge the batteries 100% because there's really no such fear. More importantly, we've understood about customer driving patterns and customer charging behaviors, as I talked to you about. But when people drive cars, particularly the electric cars, they tend to sort of use the cars much more, significantly more on eco versions, eco modes, and that's another data point that we are looking at. The average speeds, average journey distances are a little longer as compared to the ICE vehicles. And this is giving us a whole lot of important parameters so that we develop cars faster, we develop cars better. More importantly, we've also seen which areas on the city, which areas on the highway have a higher propensity of traffic density with electric vehicles, which is enabling us to put chargers in those locations and serve the needs of the people. And that's becoming a very interesting case study along with our group company, Tata Power, to expand the charging network. And, whenever you are back in my office, I will show you, there's a very interesting graphic of where all are these cars moving, and you will see the entire country lit up. That's where the cars are. It's not concentrated in one particular zone or only one particular region.
I was thinking of asking you of these 100,000 plus, where are the major concentrations?
Yeah. So I will show you that graph. It is as if the entire country is lit up with those pockmarked yellow points. In fact, when I say that, there are a couple of cars which have gone into adjoining territory, and I'm really intrigued by why are the cars and what are the cars doing there. But all this kind of interesting stuff, and it's just, I think we are scratching the surface in a lot of ways.
Right.
And there will be, for example, another important thing that I would also like to share, and Pankaj, it would be of very high interest to you because we've talked a lot on LFP and the safety for India, etc. Because of the liquid cooling that we have employed, our batteries are running very stably even in the harshest of climates. But more importantly, when we pulled off some batteries from the highest number of kilometers logged on cars, the degradation that we saw on the batteries was not as much as we would have thought it would be. So that's another good sign because we are getting early signals that the batteries are not degrading as much as they are usually expected to degrade. And that's
and yours are NMC?
No, these are LFP batteries.
Okay,
so, Yeah, so this is actually a good sign because it means that for the tech selection and for the robustness that has been built on, it is really helping. So all that I might want to say is India does pose a different set of challenges, but it's possible for our engineers to sort of configure the cooling system and the behavior of the vehicle so that we don't need to be unduly afraid, unduly concerned about how the batteries will behave, because that's been one major thing. Now it's a little more than 3 years then we have launched the Nexon EV, and that's how this data started to come in. But I think it's very, very encouraging.
Indeed, very encouraging and very interesting also. And talking about that, I think we can go on for hours, and still we'll have. Now we will not run out of time. But gentlemen, thank you very much. We have reached the end of panel discussion. But before we go, last words from each one of you. We are talking about global excellence, be it India-specific solutions or solutions developed in India for India and the global market. How close are we, or can we really realistically kind of target to be really a globally leading hub for EVs and EV solutions? Starting with you, Anand.
Yeah, I'll take that on first. So first of all, Sumantra, I think if you ask me, we've started a little later, but I think we are catching on really, really fast. And the ingenuity of Indian engineers and our ability to find solutions for our specific use cases. And by the way, let me tell you, there are a large number of markets such as ours where our use cases will find and our solutions will find definite application. We are progressing very rapidly. This is a extremely dynamic, extremely fast-paced learning that we are having. And there is no reason why in the next 3 to 4 years' time, we should be able to churn out products, parts, components, subsystems, which will compete with the best in the world. And therefore, I see this as an industry with huge potential. And let's not talk about whether everything is going to get replaced or not. Multiple solutions will have to exist in tandem for the next foreseeable future. But in this terms, I don't think that India or our engineers have anything lagging. It's just exposure that is needed. It's catching up, and it will certainly pave the way for a more brighter future.
And I'm sure in that bouquet of solutions or EVs or EV technologies coming from India, the production version of the Avinya will be a strong candidate there for global excellence. Mr. Kohli, your last words.
Yeah, I think, Sumantra, very good discussion. Lots already covered. And the last question that you had, how India would pan out on this whole EV journey. I would also echo what Anand just mentioned. So basically, it is the competency build in the market, which I think is also moving very fast, and the homegrown competency. We are really getting the technology. Global partnerships, all good, but I think locally we are really seeing how we get that piece in place. I think apart from that, when we say the OEMs and various market segments, not just the two-wheelers, I would also touch upon the bus segment, the commercial vehicle. I think the government is really supporting the faster adoption, especially all the city bus adoptions and the 50,000 number, which is panned out. All this is helping in on this side. The last piece that I would mention, and plus, of course, the supply chain, people like us who are also building the supply chain to service these markets. But I think what is important for India, getting the right technology, we already covered. Pankaj was mentioning what will fit in the market, and if LFP is a better solution, for example, over NMC. But I think right technology, the right fit for Indian market at the right cost, this is something which I see happening. And then this resonates with the tagline that we have, Make in India or Atmanirbhar. So overall, a lot of excitement. I definitely see 2030, the numbers that the government, Niti Aayog, they have put. In many segments, India would definitely meet and surpass. But yeah, it's a lot of interesting years ahead of us. Yeah.
Indeed, an interesting journey ahead. Ashish, last word from you. You said the SAR group also harbors some global ambitions. So, now your last words from you in that regard.
Yeah, I would say the India EV story is evolving very rapidly, as we all see. Okay, we are seeing a lot of EVs on the road, and that's a very good sign. May it be for any manufacturer. We always say that EV should be there on the market, and which is happening. I would say the global competition, it will take little time. First, all the OEMs are getting established themselves in India, proving their products and technology on the Indian roads. Once it is proven on the Indian roads, I would say it is a extreme case of testing, and then we will be ready to go global and take the head-ons to take the other OEMs. So there are specific advantages with the Indian OEMs. It may be the EVs or the EV drivetrain. The cost effectiveness is very important. And next to China, I think India is the market where we can develop the economy of the scale.
Right.
We can, with that, we can give the better value proposition, a good blend of the high-end technology with the cost effectiveness, which can be given as an end-to-end solution to the global market. Technology is advancing. As the panelists said, that we are developing the supply chain base in India, which was not there earlier. So EV supply chain is getting established. So all this coming together, I think I can see the horizon of not more than 5 to 6 years, where we will be having some EV products and the EV drivetrain, which can be globally competitive. So the last word I would say, there's no doubt that EV is the future of the mobility, and we are on the right path. And my personal thinking, Sumantra, is being in the industry from last 13 years, other than the business, we are doing some noble work, because we are making the vehicles which are reducing the pollution and making our mother earth or the world better, and we are getting the better world to the next generation. So this is a purpose actually, and we always working towards that purpose. Everybody in this panel will agree on this area.
Pankaj, last words from you. Also, if you can very briefly say, the next thing, if I believe Log9 is working on is on metal layer technology. You are already kind of dabbling with it earlier. Commercialization and all happening this year.
Yeah, I mean, in next 11 days, the pilot starts on our aluminum air. So, we are all keeping our fingers crossed, and I'm super excited about India's first fuel cell now gets out, and we will start to see how it performs. What we are planning to do is probably power up our office, one part of our office, through aluminum air, and we will see it ourselves, completely deplug ourselves. I really enjoy that moment when a part of Log9 can deplug itself from the grid and run on an aluminum. So that's going to happen. And, by the time next month, maybe in about a month or two, we should be able to come out with data and collaterals around it. But yeah, I would take, exactly where Ashish left. My closing word is, we emit about 55 billion tons of carbon dioxide, greenhouse gases every year. And everybody talks about what is it that I can do about it? Can I, should I start eating vegetarian food? Should I start to wear less cotton? What is it? I would say the biggest way to decarbonize, be a part of that decarbonization roadmap is to be involved with the electrification of EVs. Like whether you build an electric vehicle, or you're a technology maker, you're a user of an EV, more power to you. You're building a battery that's going to run longer, more power to you. So there is a way that everybody can decarbonize, and we can become part of the solution rather than being part of the problem just by moving to EVs. And with that, what's also going to happen is through this EV revolution that's going to happen, there's going to be a lot more economical well-being that's going to start, but that I'm already starting to see happen. Our suppliers who were earlier doing some sheet metal work are starting to say, sir, can I build a component for you? They're getting business from Log9. They're making more money. When we give the vehicle out, an electric vehicle, the driver makes, let's say, 30% more money in a month. The girl child and the boy child in that family gets better education. The brain drain that we all talked about, we were going to the Teslas of the world and BYDs of the world to try and look for some kind of a work. But I think with all of us working towards that, we're getting a lot of that brain power staying back. And imagine what that 26-year-old kid will do if he stays back in India for next 10 years. Like, the amount of wealth, energy, contribution that will come through those engineers. So I think overall, it is the right move. It's once in a generation, and I'm just super excited that I was born when EV revolution was happening. I was capable, I was educated, and I was in a position to do something about it. And I think all of us are enjoying that journey. So kudos to that EV revolution, and hoping that India takes its path to indigenization next 4 to 5 years, and we become completely independent or largely independent on our oil support, and then go into that lithium-ion journey.
Indeed, very well said. Now we are all members of a generation which is very, very fortunate to be part of this evolution in the overall transportation, or call it mobility industry, and also moving towards hopefully more sustainable, cleaner, and greener future. On that note, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time once again. And it was my pleasure to moderate this very, very insightful, informative session. As always, we run out of time, but then there's always another opportunity, right? And in this case, at ET Auto, it's my pleasure to inform everyone that the annual flagship conference for the EV industry, EV Conclave, is scheduled to be hosted by the end of November. So this World EV Day special also serves as a curtain raiser to that flagship event. So please do come. You're invited to the event, and we look forward to taking forward the discussions in the EV Conclave, the theme for which would be plug in to a new growth phase. On that note, wishing you and your teams all the very best. Thank you once again for this very, very interesting and insightful panel discussion. Best wishes from ET Auto.